The Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US, a podcast in which we explore the mind-bending world of global supply chains, covering topics such as automation, innovation, unique identity, and more. I'm your co-host, Reed.
And I'm Liz.
And welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. I hope that you're having a great day. Today's guest is Yoni Mazur. He's the Chief Growth Officer for GETIDA, and he's been at this for a long time. Now, if you're doing anything with Amazon, this episode is a must listen for you. Yoni shares with us the issues with fulfillment and inventory loss. Anywhere from 1% to 3% of inventory can be lost or damaged inside these environments. And Yoni shares with us tips on how to avoid these issues, and when these issues happen, how to get your money back, which is part of the process with the relationship and the way that Amazon does business. So I hope that you enjoy the episode as much as I did. Let's jump right in.
Yoni, welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. So just to get us started, tell us a little bit about yourself, GETIDA, and your role at GETIDA.
You got it. So currently, I'm the Chief Growth Officer of GETIDA. I'm actually one of the co-founders. In a nutshell, we're a technology company, and our mission is pretty simple, is to make sure that Amazon FBA sellers get the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. If it sounds like Chinese, I can expand a little bit more now or later. What would you like me to do, Liz?
Let's dive right into that. I love the directness, but let's just dive right into the fact that Amazon sellers are constantly losing a percentage of inventory. Explain that to us. How is this happening?
You got it. So let's step back and touch the fundamentals, and hopefully we'll give a lot of people here a lot of context, and especially if they're Amazon sellers, hopefully a lot of value. So when you sell on Amazon, logistically speaking, you have two options. First option is to have your own warehouse, and then you do your own fulfillment. So you store your inventory in your own fulfillment centers, and as the orders come in from the marketplace, you pick and pack the units, put them in the boxes, and you ship it out, and you fulfill your own orders. It's called FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant. That's option one. Option two is, use Amazon's logistics prowess and use Amazon's fulfillment centers. And they have a program called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, where you're able to ship in bulk all of your inventory to Amazon's fulfillment centers. And they're going to store the units. And as the orders come in from the marketplace, they're going to pick and pack the units. They're going to put it in a box and they're going to ship it out. And they're going to charge, their fulfillment fees. So this is the world we help Amazon FBA sellers with FBA issues. So, I'll give you a few examples of where things might go wrong. So there's going to be a discrepancy. So let's say, to put it simple, you ship 1,000 units to Amazon's fulfillment centers. And Amazon, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they only receive 90. So there are 10 units missing. It's up to the seller to actually, investigate and find that discrepancy and then raise a case with Amazon and reconcile the shipments. And of course, if there's any documentation needed, you're going to have to provide it. And then Amazon will investigate. And if they find the missing 10 units, that's great. Now you can sell them, make money, no harm done. If they don't find it and it's deemed to be missing and it's eligible for a reimbursement, they're going to kick in their insurance policy and they're going to provide you with the reimbursement, also known as a refund. So they're going to financially provide you funding or cash to compensate for the lost units or the missing units. So this is the basic entry-level understanding of how the units get into the fulfillment centers. But then it gets more sophisticated or more complicated. What happens is once the inventory units are inside Amazon's fulfillment centers, inside the centers, all of a sudden they get lost, they get damaged, they get destroyed, they disappear, they get overcharged with fees. Also between the centers, sometimes Amazon might ship your products, Reed, from Kentucky to California, from California to Nevada to have that 1 or 2 day prime shipping spread that consumers love so much. So the way they do, they get inventory in bulk and then they spread it out. So because they know by the algorithm, how many units will be sold in California or Nevada, whatever it is. So they're going to spread all the units out. When they do that, same issues happen. Units get lost, damaged, destroyed, right? Also between the fulfillment centers and the consumers, once the orders come in, not all the orders get perfectly fulfilled. Some units get lost or damaged, stuff like that. Also from the consumer back to Amazon with all the refunds and the returns. All of us return stuff on Amazon, right? When you buy stuff on Amazon, you have a refund, you want to return it. On the way back, this issue is not all the inventory gets there or doesn't get there one piece. They get damaged or they get lost. So all these logistics friction points, you need to reconcile that. You need to be on guard to make sure that, if there's a discrepancy that rises, you need to provide that data, that input to Amazon. They will kind of reconcile on their end. And of course, if there's eligibility for a refund, they will refund you. They will reimburse you. So the sellers, most of them are not even aware that they have to do that. But the ones who are aware, they don't know how deep or complicated it gets. So they only might cover a few elements instead of all the elements. Our mission is to make sure that we cover all the elements, all the types of discrepancies. and we can do all the work for them to get all the refunds, or we could do some of it. We're very customizable. So we do encourage the sellers to do the maximum reimbursements and refunds they can do on their own. And whatever they're missing out on, we're going to catch that. We're going to find that delta, and then we're going to do the work and get them all those refunds.
How often are you reconciling? Is it weekly, monthly, quarterly?
So GETIDA, we do real time every day. Every minute that goes by, we're live. We're constantly monitoring what's going on. So imagine the software and the technology that we created is like a real bodyguard or shadow for your inventory, that as soon as the inventory unit enters Amazon's fulfillment centers, it has its back. So if the inventory unit is there and all of a sudden it's not there, okay, the software is going to check why. Did it get sold? If it is, no problem. Oh, it didn't get sold. It got lost. Oh, then it got found. That's no problem. Okay. But it got lost. Never got sold. Never got found. Never got reimbursed. That's a deficit. That's a -1 that needs to be addressed. There's no answer to it. So we provide that data and calculation to Amazon. They also do their calculation and say, oh, you're right. No explanation. It's a discrepancy and you're eligible for reimbursement. Here it is. So the software and technology that we created is very amplified and strong. It acts at real time to constantly track and monitor your inventory unit once it touches Amazon's fulfillment centers. And that's how we do it. Sellers, other sellers, most sellers I would say don't even check at all, unfortunately. So thank you for this episode, because it's really about raising the awareness. So if you know about it, you'll do something about it. Again, we encourage the sellers to do as much as they can about it. There's many solution providers out there that do what we do. So I encourage you to use them, try them out. We happen to do the same things. So if you ever want to try us, we'll be happy to help you. But once you know that there's an issue, you'll be able to solve it and take care of it. And hopefully flush yourself with cash you never imagined that's available. It's very energizing for a business. You can take that cash and reinvest it into the business and launch new products. You can buy GS1 GTINs, right? UPC codes. We noticed over the years that cash is very useful to build businesses and grow organizations. So we encourage the sellers to reinvest in their businesses and grow their business. So awareness helps a lot. So the ones who are aware, then they really have the option to do it weekly, monthly, quarterly. Every organization has its own life and story, but on our end, it's real time.
How do the sellers get information into the system? How does that work?
Amazon is an amazing, incredible platform. There's so many elements there. It's just incredible because you have all these modules that lives inside Amazon Seller Central. And also you have a lot of terms of service kind of things you have to know about. I don't think I met the seller that knows it all. It's just impossible because it's so complex. But if you look deep down into all the elements, you'll find in terms of service, they tell you, listen, regarding FBA, regarding your inventory, you're eligible to reconcile. There's brackets actually. You could go up to 18 months on certain things. Then you have 9 months on other things, and you have 3 months on others. So there's like high level, like 3 brackets of timeframes that you're allowed, that are open for you and available for you to reconcile and go back and get all these refunds. And then they kind of tell you for inbound shipments, you have this kind of module. So you go into Seller Central and you see the shipments log and you go one by one and you see, oh, this one we shipped 1,000, only 990 got received. You got to click and open it, and they're going to tell you inside that module what to do. It's a kind of funnel. But when it comes to loss and damage units in the past 18 months you need to reconcile, they tell you, okay, go to this database, to this report, download the report for the past 18 months, and then download a few other reports and reconcile it together and see what happens. So they kind of give you the menu instructions how to bake the cake. It's not so intuitive. It's not so simple. You have to be kind of an Excel wizard to figure it out. And that's how it's laid out for the sellers to figure it out. So for our purpose and intent, of course, we want to solve the issue completely. But I think above that even, it's just really educate. First of all, inform and educate and put the awareness. But we put a lot of content out there. We actually train and educate the sellers how to do it properly. Okay, we take all the fuzziness away and just kind of give them the construction of it so they can really take action on their own and get everything that they owed. And of course, we still recommend having that backup, that professional company that has deep abilities to get you all the deltas and only get rewarded if they're successful doing it. But as per your question, Liz, it's there. It's not so clear. It's not so intuitive. That's what we're here to help with that as well.
It sounds daunting to be an Amazon seller with so many different pieces of the puzzle. And then you get the product into the distribution center, and there's still so many pieces of the puzzle that need to be plugged in. And from a consumer perspective, all we do is press a dang button and the stuff comes to the house, right? So
I did it today. I pressed the buy one now. I bought new windshield wipers for my car. Yeah. My brother sent me a link to the one he thinks is good on Amazon. I clicked. I did that one swipe. I bought it. Magic. It's in my house, right? But there's so much story behind it. It's incredible. That's where we live.
I actually was in San Diego last week at Amazon's newly formed robotic warehouse, one of their more highly robotic warehouses, and it was mind-blowing. It's 5 stories, and they actually employ more people at the warehouses that they have robots in than in the warehouses that they don't, which was very surprising to me.
Why is that?
And Liz and Yoni, How many people do you think they have in these big warehouses in one shift on average? Not seasonal inflections, just
I
your
think five to
average
six
day.
thousand. 5,000 to 6,000 people in one warehouse.
Okay, Liz?
I guess under. I have no idea.
Yeah, so Yoni, you're very close. They said that on an average day, just your mundane average day, it's roughly around 2,000 people, give or take
Wow.
500. And then on their really busy days, it's about 5 and can swell to 6,000 people. And I'm like, what?
This was in my
2
story.
10-hour shifts.
I heard or spoke about it, a while ago. That's why 5 to 6,000 was in my head somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but so on the low end, 500 to 2,000. When it goes crazy, 5,000 plus. Yeah.
So, Yoni, what type of money are we talking about here? I'm sure that there's some sellers that are missing everything. Amazon's actually rather good. They keep some of their analytics tight to themselves, but it's in their best interest to not have a lot of lost or damaged goods, but sometimes it's out of their control too, right? Car accidents happen, theft happens.
Robots make mistakes. There's bugs.
Robots
right?
make mistakes. Humans make mistakes.
Great question. So let's sum it up in a different word or a different kind of words. It's what's the level of opportunity of recovery? So we're doing this for about 8 years. We audit tens of billions of dollars of FBA transactions every day at this point. And we see that the spectrum lives between 1 to 3% from revenue. So 1 to 3% from your revenue is going to get affected with all these discrepancies. So for example, everybody can do their own math and listening or watching to this. But let's say if, simple numbers, if you do $1 million a year in FBA, 1 to 3% could be $10,000 to $30,000 you need to look into and reconcile and recover. If you do 100 million, that's 1 to 3 million, on and on it goes. A different element to look at it is that for every 100 inventory units you ship into Amazon's fulfillment centers, 1 to 3 units is going to get affected with all these types of discrepancies in a lifetime cycle with Amazon's fulfillment centers. So that's kind of what's going on over there. But I want to pause for a second and flip the table and say this. If you flip it over, you see that Amazon does an amazing job, 97, 98, 99% of the time with hundreds of billions of dollars worth of inventory. That's not to be taken lightly at all. Because if you ask Adidas, Nike, all these toy companies, if they would be happy to have 1 to 3% discrepancy rate with all the shipments and cargo and stuff like that, they'll be like, yeah, because they easily go to 5, 7, 8, 9, 10% of all these. Because every time you move inventory from one place to another, there's always discrepancies. There's always stuff like that. So if you ask the other brands and stuff, they would cut their arms and legs to be in that kind of an amazing position or being in that fringe position of 1 to 3%. Because they do an amazing job 97, 98, 99% of the time. So in the world of statistical error and fringe, that's where we live. And that's what we basically live to serve the seller community to make sure that that is buttoned up so they can really focus out on what really pushes the business forward, which is products, right? You're a retailer. You're not an auditor. You're not a reconciliator. You're not a tech data company. You're a retailer. You're a brand. You want to really be able to take your products and goods and provide that solution to the consumers out there. If it's cookware, it's cooking, cookware solutions, right? If it's a toy, it's a gaming solution for entertainment purposes or educational purposes. So that's the world that retailers and Amazon sellers live in, and it's a big world. Inside that world, there's a small fringe issue that happens, and that's what we live in to serve and solve it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because the other thing that they shared with us last week when I was out on this tour was that the facility we were in had 36 inches was the biggest that they would take. It was something like shoulder width or a little bit, in size, because they have to take into consideration size for their robotics and such and weight and some other things. But then it's hazardous materials have to be treated a different way. Foods have to be treated a different way. You can buy anything on Amazon, anything, where a lot of these other places are really focused, like grocery stores. Yeah, they have hazardous materials that they handle as well, and they have food that they handle, but they're not handling a lot of electronics, right? Which have to be handled in a much different way. And then the electronics stores, they have their supply chains and they have some hazardous materials, but they're not dealing with food, right? And then you have drugs and there's, other things.
Medicine, OTC medicine.
It blew my mind, Liz.
Right?
I just want to connect into that because Amazon's one of their slogans is that I think they call it something like the largest selection in the universe or something like that. So based on that slogan and vision, that's what they're doing. They're trying to encompass it all across all categories, which is nobody ever did that. It's tremendous. It's just unbelievable and still having remarkable numbers because a lot of it is based on the robotics, and the AI and the technologies that they have, which is really top of the line. And just a quick history there. Amazon Robotics is the name that they gave Kiva, a company that was the leader in the world doing it. And I think in the past decade, they bought it for a lot of money and integrated it and flipped the name into Amazon Robotics. But once again, Amazon's ability to either develop the best technology and solutions or recognize them with global leaders, buy those components to really put all together and construct that vision of the largest selection in the universe.
I mean, with all of that complexity, and when we talked about earlier, like sellers, they just want to get their product right to the consumer. What do you say to them? Like, what are the tips that you have for them when you start talking about fulfillment issues?
Education is key. You just know what you're getting into as much as possible, just to get the products into Amazon, especially if you're sourcing from overseas, if it's China or India, Vietnam, whatever it is. It's its own universe of complexities, import duties, export duties, global supply chain, stuff like that. So know what you're getting into with those elements. Of course, once the units hit Amazon's fulfillment centers, that's when you have to go into the elements of reconciling that. Like I said, there's many solution providers out there that do it. It happens to be that we're one of them. That's just more on the logistics side of things. I think the first fundamental is really know what you want to sell. And there's typically a high level, two types of models for that or passions for that. One passion is just, I want to see what sells a lot. I just want to make money, right? And I see the best sellers and I'll create some sort of version of that, a better version, a more competitive version. That's one model that drives a lot of people in. The other one is like people are really trying to solve something. It could be for elderly people, people with disabilities or cosmetics. They're really, really passionate. So they don't look into a bestseller and try to mimic that or do a spin of that. They're really innovators. They really want to innovate and bring something that wasn't there. And that's what drives them and pushes them. So know where you are with that. Some do the hybrid. They start with something that they thought they can sell out of, make money, but then all of a sudden they develop that passion project or passion product and put it out there. But that's high level. So recognize where you are with that spectrum and treat yourself as a professional in that realm. If you're an innovator, invest in it. Get the patents that you need, all these components that you need to make sure that you have all the protections that you need so nobody can interfere with your business. And of course, when you are just trying to sell stuff that's trendy, stay agile. It's trendy now. Maybe it's not going to be trendy in the future. So you got to constantly launch more and more. So it's not going to be as evergreen. The more you know, the more you understand about yourself. I think that's helpful. And just stick to the good foundations and elements. Always come with good intentions. But also a very, very important key component is just realizing that when you sell on Amazon, it's different from brick and mortar. Brick and mortar it's its own universe. You don't always know what's going on. You don't know always why your consumers are buying your product. You can try, you can speculate, but when it comes to the digital front, the fingerprints all over the crime scene. Meaning there's so much data on everything that's going on, how many impressions, how many conversions, how many clicks, everything is there, all the fingerprints. So the more you can really connect and channel yourself into the data and understand what's going on, you're going to win, and you're going to win big. Because it's a simple formula. It's traffic, conversion, and the price point. That creates a revenue. And then based on that, your cost structure, you deduct it, you got the profit. That's pretty much a formula of online retail or retail in general, but especially selling online and on Amazon, the traffic. You can really calculate and quantify the traffic and deal with it and try to optimize it. With brick and mortar, it's not so simple. Especially if you sell to Walmart, for example, why they're putting it here, maybe they're putting it there. Every store has its different layouts and traffic within the aisles, much more complexities. So the better you are with data on the digital and Amazon front, you're going to do very, very well. So put all these blends together. Hopefully these are a few key elements that you can consider becoming successful at launching yourself into this business.
So full disclosure, I don't sell anything on Amazon. I have friends that do and family that do. And I hear all the time that it's always changing. Two-part question though, like, what do they mean by it's always changing? And do you have some best practices on how to keep up to maintain success?
I'll start with the second part of the question. If you're listening to this, it means you're opening yourself up to the content and the discussions that's resonating from the industry. So the way to solve it is constantly keep an open mind and constantly absorb the data points, but also the content that's coming out, discussing these elements so you understand the constant changes. So why is it constantly changing? Because Amazon is always looking to improve the shopping experience to consumers out there and to expand the catalog. Because of that, they're in business for more than 20 years. But of course, what it is 20 years ago, what it is today, completely different on all fronts for the consumers, the experience. But of course, behind the scenes for the third-party sellers. I'll touch, let's say, on the advertising, for example. When they started advertising, I believe it was like 2015, maybe 16. It's pretty straightforward. It's keywords. You could buy a keyword. I'm looking for a watch, red watch. You can bid on that. And then your red watch listing will come up there. It's called PPC, pay-per-click. Wow, great success. Sellers are paying and customers, when they look for keywords, people bid and they get what they want. Much like Google when you do keywords, sponsored ads. But then it said, hey, now we can do video ads. When you do that, you can get those regular sponsored listings, but also videos, also banners of brands. So all these elements where the environment is just more enhancing. It's more rich with digital because, before like listings look very basic and now listings constantly look better and better. And when you enter the listings, they look much better than they looked 10 years ago or 15 years ago. The visuals are much better. The infographics are much better. Whatever they can do, the content is just much better. So once again, take all these stepping stones together. You'll see that there's constantly improvement over time with Amazon's teams and infrastructure and requirements, which reflects then to the third-party sellers, which constantly go into their listings and their products and constantly improve them. of course, and there's a constant feedback loop between the consumers into Amazon with all the reviews. Some products that were sold out there were just not good, right? Like dangerous toys, those toys with lead, whatever it is. So, Amazon was naive in those moments or these early times, and then they started to make more requirements. Oh, you want to sell toys? You want to be in the toy category? You want to sell toys that might have metal? So all of a sudden, they're not just going to accept everybody in. They're going to do an application. Or we're going to do a certificates. You're going to ask for certificates from the fact. So you're going to install all these elements and make it a safer, better, more quality, high quality environment on all fronts. So blend it all together. It's a constantly changing environment that's penetrating into the world of retail. Just to put it into more perspective, e-commerce right now, with the leadership of Amazon, I think Amazon's like half of e-commerce, at least in the United States, has penetrated maybe 14, 15% from all available retail in the United States. So from the 100% retail sales, 14, 15% of it is from e-commerce. And about half of that is like from Amazon. But I can bet my arm and leg that it's going to continue growing, because the generation that's coming now is going to be so native to them. To go out to one mall and another store and comparing, it's just not going to happen. It's not efficient. It's much more efficient to just be able to get a large selection of products that you want to buy. You get all the info that you need. You have 3D mock-ups, whatever it is. You can have all these cool features where you can actually take a picture of yourself and see how might look on yourself, right? And you get all these feedbacks. Because listen, when you go to the store and there's a product, let's say a cookware that you want to buy in a brick and mortar store, you don't have the feedbacks in front of you. You don't know what the experience is for many others that bought it before you. But guess what? You go into an Amazon listing, you have thousands telling you this is amazing, or beware, this ships, this fall. That is a different experience. It's a superior experience. And you click and it goes right to your doorstep. Yeah.
It's so true. My wife, she's like, I'm not buying that. There's not enough reviews. It's got to be over like 5,000 for her to even consider it.
There we go. See, it's much more intuitive, and you realize there's power into this and this medium, just more efficient and just more quality, just better. So that penetration will continue. We have the old school generations that I think it got better because of COVID, because they're stuck at home. They had to buy stuff. So they adopted. So that gave us a good bump into e-commerce. But over time, as they enhance it and make it better and better, and the new generation comes in, it's just going to grow. Because it's superior, it is just a better solution, with my humble opinion.
And Liz, I don't want you mentioning later that he was talking about my school, the old school. All right.
Well, it's our.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm 38 and I find it very hard to go shop in brick and mortar stores. I can't imagine. I'm going to go buy a few things, put it back in my trunk, going to go to the next store, try it on. But who has time for that? It's like almost like I need to take a day out for that. I just can't. Yeah. But boom, boom, boom. As you go, I can be taking Uber somewhere, checking out stuff that I'm thinking about buying. So in between, you kind of put it in there, and at least on fashion, and to buy stuff that you want, or at least that you find in a brand that you like. I mean, let's say shoes. Like I like Clark's, so I saw a few styles that I like online. I know what I want, but I'm not 100% sure it's gonna fit. So you have two options: like, order it, a few styles or a few sizes, and then return, and it's all good, and keep the ones that fit the best. Or still, I might go to the store and say, I know which styles I like, which sizes. I'll go try it on, buy it, and take it out. So internet also helps brick and mortar by figuring out what you really want. So there's that hybrid momentum there as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
So there are two questions that Reed and I always finish our episodes with. What is your favorite technology that you're using today? It can be for your personal life. It could be in your work life. Would love to hear what is changing the way you live.
It's actually much more simple than one might expect, but it's my Google Calendar, honestly. Today, I'm a very much Google Calendar guy. I always say right now, at this point of life, I believe in a professional world and a professional environment that if something's in my calendar, it gets done. But it wasn't always like that. Yeah, when I was growing up, in my early career, I just never needed it. But today, it's just even, I have somebody's birthday or I got to go to the park. I just put it just constructs my life. And that app was always there. But just applying it and using it and being committed to it helped me a lot, changed my life. So
it kind of sounds like snow days. When you're an adult, you're an adult, is because when they forecast snow and you get upset, you're an adult. Like Yoni, you just said,
game over. Yeah.
I like my calendar. I'm using my calendar. I'm an adult. That's pretty much it. But it's still true. I will tell you, the day they took away the integration between Google calendars and Microsoft Outlook calendars was a bad day in the Jackson household. Because my wife's with the kids and my schedule and her schedule, and thank God for synchronized calendars.
I'm going to do a 2-for-1. Worth mentioning Slack. We are an organization of 200 people in 10 countries. Slack is just the ultimate democratic tool where I can always get a message on Slack from anybody from the organization at any hierarchy, on any position. It could be just brand new employees. I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to respond to that. As opposed to email in my inbox, a never-ending Everest, and I always kind of prioritize. But on Slack, it's a great tool, so maybe that helps as well. Just to be a bit more sophisticated than a calendar tool.
is funny. When I started, it was voicemail. Then we got pagers. And then you got email, which is great. And then it was instant message. And then it was 4 different types of instant message. And now it's Facebook Messenger. And it's like, there's only, are you on Slack? Are you on Teams? But it does. When you can get a group in and it's part of the culture, it definitely changes everything. It gives you a lot more visibility. So I think that kind of leads to our next question here. And this is something that we just started impromptu and it came in our first episode. And as you said before, get educated, right? Learn something new. So what's something that's blown your mind, whether it was, in your adult professional life or even before that, just something that like just stopped you in your tracks. And from that day forward, you looked at the world differently. What's something that's blown your mind?
I read a lot and I'm just a history freak and buff. So anything history, biographies of historical figures, it can be whatever drives your passion. I live in America, in the United States. Anything about the American Revolution, the progress of the United States, the transition between being an agriculture country into the Industrial Revolution, the manufacturing era, and now we're in and then the kind of services era. Now we're in the tech, call it, era. I like that. That drives a lot of my reading. There's, books worth mentioning, Good to Great. There's also, I think Netflix has a good book. No rule is the rule. That's like the Netflix slogan. I mean, really, the history of America blows my mind and how it's constantly reinventing itself. And the beauty of it is how it's really put people from all over the world coming together to one land, and they kind of unite together and create so much innovation and so much progress and prosperity. I was born and raised in Israel, so I'm coming from the outside. My mother's American, so I was an American born abroad, but I just don't take it for granted. So I have that, even though I'm American at birth, but I have that immigrant mentality where I appreciate it. And so to keep it short, America blows my mind. And now we're in the technology end when America kind of still leads in it. Of course, now we got ChatGPT, the AI. Microsoft is backing that up, and Elon Musk, who's one of the founders, and of course he did Tesla, and he does Twitter now, and he did PayPal. He has so many things. All these innovators, they blow my mind on the entrepreneur end, but the technological end, and how all of that connects to the American spirit. So that's my answer there.
I love that. We are a nation of immigrants. I'm always trying to remind people that. One thing that blew my mind, I learned a long time ago, but it's stuck with me ever since, was the United States does not have a national language. Like a lot of other countries, you speak, you're from Germany, you speak German. You may have some blended things and some different dialects, but I've heard people say, we're in America, speak English. And I'm like, we don't have a national language.
No.
and you're right. We change, we figure out how to work together. Some places in America are very much alike. All the people look alike, all the people act alike. Other places in America are very, very different. And it's the good and bad. It's the yin and yang of the world. And I love your perspective on it and the history and everything. So thank you for sharing.
There's beauty, beauty and diversity. Look at all these successful innovators. They're not all the same. They're just from different backgrounds from all over the world, and their baggage and backgrounds, and they're here in this country. So it tells you a lot.
This has been awesome. We can't thank you enough for spending the time with us today and dropping some knowledge. Just recapping here a little bit, 1 to 3% of your revenue. That's what you can get back. That can be very, very significant. New inventory, new products expansions, new machinery, lots of different things. And lean in, get yourself educated. I love the fact that if you're listening to this right now, you're doing what you need to do, and you'll find other avenues to go down. That's why we really do this. I mean, this is the Next Level Supply Chain podcast, talking about all things supply chain related, and this is part of it. So, Yoni, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We appreciate your time and input.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to our feed and explore more great episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to share and follow us on social media. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.